Surf's Up. We're doing the final top 20 of 2025. I have already taken the liberty to write down the players I had from my last list that I made in October. And then I put green on ones that I think could move up for their recent performances. Reminder, since the last list that I made, PGL Masters Bucharest took place, IEM Chengdu took place, the Blast Rivals in Hong Kong took place, and the Budapest Major happened. So obviously, these are the tournaments that are in play to move people up or down. Because what I do differently than some people is I make running lists throughout the whole year. So I think this is my 5th one at least. I think that it's very difficult to not have recency bias when you just suddenly make a list at the end of the year. And so having these slight move ups and move downs from foundation that I've already kept up with throughout the year proves that to me it just makes it so I'm less of a victim of recency bias. That's the main objective of it. And so obviously if I were to rank the tournaments that had happened most recently, Budapest Major is going to be the most important. I'd say Chengdu is the 2nd most important, Hong Kong's the 3rd, and Bucharest is the 4th most important. So as you can see, some of these players moved up and down. This was my top 20 from before. These are players that I'm going to be considering, but I'm going to be now doing my eye test list so that I can more or less just think about it. And then I'll start going through the 3rd column, which is the final list, which I then move people up. I compare every player practically to who is above them and beneath them until I find what I consider perfect spots for all of them. As someone asks, am I using my own criteria or do I weigh team achievements too high like HLTV? I consider individuals a little bit higher, I'd say, than HLTV does. Like I think the thing is with my criteria, first and foremost, I care most at the end of the year about the events that we're going to remember the most. So I think I weigh majors, Katowice and Cologne higher than HLTV does. I just don't think all events are created equally. And I think that for somebody to sneak onto this list because it's like, oh, they did really well at like EPL season 29 or whatever. It's like, I just don't think I'm going to even remember who won EPL like five years ago. You know, like I remember every major winner. I remember most Katowice and Cologne winners with strong conviction. And yeah, maybe a list isn't all about just like, oh, big moment memory or something like that. But it's like, it kind of is. That kind of is what marks the year and provides importance. And those are the tournaments with the most gravity in history. So if I were to do an eye test list, though, as we start from number 20, my eye test says that I have to include this guy. I was a little bit disappointed with what he did at the major. I think that the first 9 months of this year really helped this guy out, but he was kind of a non-factor for me at the major. Maybe if I pull up the stats, he's going to be a little bit better than I really thought he was. But I felt like Navi was propelled by 2 players in particular, and this guy was not one of them. I'm going to be moving Bit to my number 20 right now. I just think that for the beginning of the year, I thought this guy was like a top 10 guaranteed player. So now, number 19. This is a little tough. I think having Bit on the list almost makes this difficult, if I'm being honest with you. Okay, here. I'm going to actually start at 21, guys. So what I think today is I think Bit is actually 21 and Yuri is 20. I think Bit missed the list. I actually think Bit missed the list for me. I'm going to take him off my list entirely. We're going to go back, but I think Bit is no longer on my top 20. Here, I'll rank all of these players. I would probably do this. Brokey 26, Yekindar 25, Exertion 24, Kioske there, Wycadia here, Bit there, and then I would put Yuri there. That's my eye test of it. So number 19. God, man, I think it might be Nico. I really think this might be Nico. I just think now it's just so crazy. Oh man, I don't think he can be that low. Let's move him up one. I think number 19 might just be wonderful. I think that might be wonderful there. So 18 is Nico, 19 is wonderful, and then we're going to start moving people up. Ema above Nico, and then I think that might be Heavy God. I feel like we just saw like a little flare up from him, but didn't. He was still good at the major. I feel like a lot of people just passed him, unfortunately. Like I would put here K Serrato. No. Yeah, K Serrato. I put Twist here. No. I think that's there. I think Torzi might be there. Torzy might be beneath K Serato. I think Twist might be here. Or no, this is probably Flamesy here. No, really? Flamesy versus Twist? I can't forget the whole half of the year. The first half of the year, Flamesy, I think Flamesy deserves to be a top 10 player this year, if I'm being real. I think he has to be. Torzy, I think that's fair. I think Mezzy has to move up. I think Xantares should probably just stay like 11th or so. I think Molodoy is maybe the 9th best player of the year. No, he was so bad in the playoffs of the major. I can't do it. Okay, we're going to do Molodoy here. We're going to do Molodoy there. Yeah, Xantares here. And then Mezzy has to be here. We're moving Senzu down. He can't be the 6th best player without playing the 2nd major of the year. Man, Mezzy might be here, and then Spinks might be there. Frozen might be 6 now. Shiro would be there. Monacy. Yeah, this is right. Shiro has to come down. I don't really think that anybody's major performance really vaulted them over a great year from Shiro. I don't really think I believe in Shiro's EVP that much from the major. I think that's kind of weird that HLTV put him in there and then they didn't put, say, like K Serato. But let's just look at the year. My favorite test is the Prestige test. This is looking good. This is already looking pretty good. Where the fuck is Monacy? Okay, this is where the list gets so crazy, guys. Like, everybody wanted Monacy. Guys, okay, seriously, everybody wanted Monacy for so long. They're like, Monacy. Like, why is he not higher than Shiro? Okay. 29, 30, 31, 32, 33rd. He's 33rd on the list of the Prestige filter. And I'm including stage 2 of Austin, guys. Like, I'm including it. Oh, 30. Look at where Brokey is. Oh, look at where Brokey is. And also, unfortunately, look at where Torzy is too, guys. You know, we wanted to include YKD onto the top 20 list, but this is just pretty damn low. Okay, so who didn't make my list that maybe there should be stronger consideration for? Because Bit is 21, and I had him against Yuri. Ooh, Yuri's at 1.07 and Bit's at 1.12, and Bit has more maps. Bit actually has more maps. Can we check what Exertion's elite playoff rating is? Okay, can we do 8 maps? Exertion actually has a 1.05. He's got a negative KD. Torzy's got a really good KD. Kind of tricks me when I see that. Brokey actually has a pretty good number. It's not bad. It's not a lot of games, but it's a good number. Good. Makaze is this is worth taking a look at here. What are we? So at Cologne in the playoffs, yeah. Wow, he actually destroyed Furia too. Yeah, no, I mean, I talked about Makaze right after this game as being insane. Right before this map started, I said, watch out for this guy Ivy, and holy shit, did he fuck them from Ivy. The take might be that Makaze is the best Ivy lurker in the world. That actually might be a legitimate thing. All right, let me look at Kyosuke right quick here. Okay, that is insane. I think that deserves it, guys. I think that actually does deserve it. I see a lot of green numbers. Can we do Makaze's playoff? So these are his playoff numbers at, the elite events though. Oh, this is tough. I mean, Makaze put up like the same number as Kyosuke at the major, and he had 2 series. And then at Cologne, he put up better than anything else Kyosuke even did. That's kind of crazy, actually. I think this guy might make the list. I think Kyosuke shouldn't be on the list, but he will be next year. Makaze top 20 if we lost the plot. I just think it's too little maps. So let's actually take it from the bottom here. Let's do the Bit v Yuri convo right now. I think Bit is probably going to end up looking better because his first 6 months were better. But Yuri's now got some trophies to his name and had some nice playoff runs, which it's not saying he's an individual, you know. It's pretty close. Let's do top 20, of course. That is a lot closer than I thought. Now, look at events. Budapest Major, they got the same rating. Cologne for Bit, 1.18. Cologne for Yuri, 1.09. Score for, if it's a tie right now, 1-1, Bit is up 2-1. Austin Major, 1.25 for Yuri. That is fire. 0.96 for Bit. Okay, point for Yuri. And I'd say the Austin Major is more important. Now, Katowice, this is bad. So this is going to be a point for Bit for sure. So it's kind of tied, but I consider the Austin Major to be the deciding factor here. I say the Austin Major is the deciding factor for me, but let's just look at some other events too. Okay, so let's Let's see versus top opposition, okay? 1.02 versus top 5, 1.07 versus top 10. So it's right there, okay? So does Yuri fall off a cliff? Not really. I mean, it's pretty similar. I mean, versus top 10, Bit does look better here. Let's do the vitality test, the team of the year test. So versus vitality for the year, Yuri was a 1.05. For the year, Bit versus vitality was a 0.91. Okay, that probably swings this in favor of Yuri. Here, let's look at versus each other. 1.28 versus Yuri versus Navi. Ooh, that's not good. 0.95 though. Okay. Yuri versus Spirit is a 1.16, and then Bit versus Spirit is a 1.06. So it's way more maps. Okay, so let's see. Is there another team? Do we have the Falcons test is always weird because there are different versions of Falcons throughout the year, but Yuri clears them on that. Yuri wins on like every single versus team test that I'm doing right now. Versus Falcons, versus Spirit, versus Vitality. He's better against all these teams than Bit is. And he was better at the Austin Major. Well, a Maus test would be good. Let's do a Maus test. Is there a Maus test? Okay, for Yuri, Maus 0.92. What about Bit? 0.90. Dude, he wins versus every team. Versus every single team that I care about, except the head-to-head, Yuri has won. I'm taking Yuri over Bit. Yeah, that's that. He's better against Vitality. He's better against Spirit. He's better against Maus. Now let's do Yuri versus Wonderful. I'm actually entirely confident in that take now that Yuri gets on over Bit. But let's see. I think I might have overrated Wonderful just recently because of how good he was. So this might be a recency bias. So we got Yuri versus Wonderful. 1.08 versus 1.06 using land top 20 for the year. So number is a little higher for Yuri. So let's look at the versus top opponents thing. Wonderfuls are all a little bit better. Let's look at the elite events. Okay, so Budapest Major 1.23 point for Wonderful. Cologne 1.09 for Wonderful. 1.09, so tie. So still 1-0 up. For Austin Major 1.12 for Wonderful. Austin Major 1.25. This is insane. Like how did this even happen? Kane, VP, Aurora, Mongols. I mean, it's not bad, but let's see what Wonderful is over here. It's Vitality, G2, Spirit. I'm going to say this is a little harder, actually. And that kind of probably should have worked in the favor of Bit, but Bit had a pretty bad. Okay, and then Kato is better for Wonderful than Yuri. I'm already pretty comfortable with this. Let's see the opponent's test, though. 1.30 for Wonderful, 1.05. We take that. Now let's do the Spirit test. Ooh, 0.95 versus Yuri's 1.16. And it's not a lot of maps. The Maus test is horrendous for Wonderful, though. Wow, 0.80 is quite bad. So then what about the head-to-head? 1.03 for Wonderful. The head-to-head, again, was pretty bad for Yuri, 0.95. And then what was the last team? I did the Maus test, the Spirit test, and the Vitality test. Those were like the teams that I really cared about doing this year. I think that's pretty much... I mean, we could do the Mongols test, 1.20 versus 1.07. Yeah, I think Wonderful's better. Yeah, I think most of this points to me thinking Wonderful did better. His KPR is higher, his DPR is lower, his round swing's better, his multi-kills are better. ADR, I do like ADR a lot, but I don't think as an opper, it does usually hurt you a little bit. So that difference of 4 is not going to change everything. How about we do kills per round win, 0.92. Kills per round win, yeah. Wonderful is just more important to this team. Yeah, okay, I'm comfortable with that. Okay, moving on. Should I do Wycadia versus Yuri, guys? Because I think his numbers are going to be really high in comparison. LAN, top 20. Ooh, it's pretty much the same. Okay, so let's just look at the big events now. Star Ladder, 1.06. Cologne, 1.13. They lost in the play. Austin Major, 0.89. It's not really presenting me with the most convincing case here. So Star Ladder, Budapest Major. Tough to rank Aurora because they lost out in stage 2, which was so early. Wycadia had great numbers, trust me. I mean, I know this guy made my fantasy in stage 2 amazing because of this game versus M80. Like, he actually farmed them. I thought he was going to do better in this stage, but 1.06 versus those teams. And then we look at Yuri, and he actually had pretty good numbers versus good teams until he got to the playoffs versus Navi again. And then it took him down a bit. Oh, what was the other team here? It was Imperial. Yeah, that doesn't count. In a top 20 player discussion, that's irrelevant to me. Going back through it, I mean, like, what are Wycadia's best events? Blast Open Lisbon. That is an event that I did care about. But the Kato play-in, then Bucharest, then Fisher Playground 2, Cluj, EPL. Cologne's nice. It's just one event with above a 1.1 rating. But then if I look at Yuri's best events with above that, I have the Austin Major. I have Lisbon. I still have Blast Rivals. Let's see the floor. the floor of these players. Austin Major, that is really rough. It's so rough that I think it's over. It's so like a 0.89. Yeah, it's over. It's over. Are the events you work more valued? No. I think the only thing I would change about this list now that it happened is I would move Chengdu up 1. Hong Kong deserves to be in 0.8 and Chengdu deserves to be in 0.9. That's how I rank the tournaments. I think what we could do for splitting hairs is we look at the Lisbon, Melbourne, and Chengdu stats. Lisbon, Melbourne, Chengdu stats. You know what? We have these tournaments here, so we'll make a new one. Let's do this. Let's do it. Lisbon, Melbourne, Chengdu. So now, where do some of these guys go? So where is Mauisnake now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's still 8th on this list. He's still 8th on the list, guys. It's still so low. He has more maps, obviously, than Molodoy or Cacerado, but even then, it's still beneath Shiro, Frozen, Rops, Zaiwu, Donk, guys. So the Mauisnake case is just really is not as strong for me. It's just not. Where is Twist now on this list? Twist moves down, actually. That's pretty sizable in terms of that difference there. Okay, we'll keep moving. Okay, so now let's do Wonderful versus Nico. These are the uncomfortable conversations. Are you guys ready for the uncomfortable conversation of Wonderful versus Nico? Because I am. All right, let's do it. Okay, let's see. All right, 2025, top 20, land. Always where we need to start with this stuff. Okay, so he's got a better number. Nico's got about 50 more maps, and he's got a higher number. Now versus the top teams in the world, 1.06, 1.08, 1.11, 1.03, 1.05, 1.08. Okay, I think it's looking good for Nico. But let's look at how he's doing at the major. 1.15, that's good. But 1.23, I'd give a point to Wonderful there. Now let's do Cologne, 1.09 for Wonderful versus Nico, 0.92. That's a point for Wonderful. There's 2 points for Wonderful already. Now we look at the Austin Major, 1.12 for Wonderful, and this is a 1.06. Wait a second. The crazy thing is, okay, 1.10. 1.06 versus 1.12, and that's stage 2. That's stage 2. So that's another point for Wonderful. Uh-oh. Now Katowice, a 1.15 for Nico, 13th to 16th though, versus a 1.12, but 3rd to 4th. This might be a sweep. This might legitimately be a sweep for Wonderful over Nico. That is 4 of the 4 prestige events of the year that to me look better for Wonderful. I can see a case that maybe Nico isn't the reason they lost Katowice, but this is extremely uncomfortable. Now let's look at the best events for both of them. Okay, let's see. 1.60. This is stage 2, and he had a 1.60. Like, reminder, Nico's stage 2 was a 1.06. Guys, that's kind of crazy. Okay, I think we need to definitely, see the floor for them though. So the floor is at Cologne and Rivals and Lisbon. Those are 2 of the 7 most important events for me. For Wonderful, it's one of them. It's the same one actually. But the floor is at EPL and EWC in Lisbon. So it's just one of the 7 events for me. Even if we look at Melbourne here, 1.05 for Wonderful, that would be another one, 1.17. So that's good for Nico. And then Chengdu, 1.15 for him, and Chengdu is 1.05. So that's these are like small points for Nico, but they're at events that I consider less important. Really, Nico only has 2 events over Wonderful this year for me. It's Melbourne and Chengdu. And yes, people can say, like, what about when you go down deeper into these other events? Like, how much do they matter to you? They do matter, but they're just they matter less. They just matter less. Okay, let's do playoffs. Okay, let's do it. So Nico's best is Fisher Playground, Cluj, EPL, and Melbourne and Dallas. Okay, those are his 5. Wonderful's with a 1.1 or better are Cologne, the Major, Astana, and EPL. Dude, I think this is pretty clear. That Wonderful has won this battle, actually. This is wonderful. Okay, here we go. So in the list the new list, it's actually Nico at 19th. Oh, wow. Nico, the 19th best player of 25. Oh my God. That's crazy right now. So now I'm going to do Wonderful versus Ema. What's really interesting about pitting 2 teammates against each other is that their ratings are so comparable because they're playing the exact same games. Ema's numbers versus top 5 and top 10 opponents are way better than Wonderful's. It's pretty hard to make the case here unless he's getting these at like the most meaningless events, you know? So at the major, 1.19 for Ema, 1.23. So light point for Wonderful. Then let's look at Chengdu, 1.05 to a 0.98. So maybe another point for Wonderful. Then we look at Cologne, 1.09 versus 1.22. That is a big point for Ema. So 2-1, Wonderful. Austin Major, 1.12 for Wonderful. 1.08 with a sub 1.0 KD. That's a point for Wonderful. That's actually 3-1 right now. Now, Melbourne for Ema, 1.00 versus Wonderful, 1.05. So that's another point for Wonderful, 4-1 right now. And then Katowice, 1.12 for Wonderful. And then Katowice, 1.18. So it's 4-2 on the events that I think matter. Oh, and Lisbon, by the way, I guess, okay, Ema wins that. So it's 4-3, but Wonderful's still ahead. And Wonderful did better at both of the majors. Like, where is Ema getting all of this rating is where I'm really wondering. He's getting it at EPL. He got some at Cologne. He got some at Budapest Major. I mean, this looks good. I mean, these are 4 events that are pretty serious, you know? It's pretty good. Whereas Wonderful got it at Budapest. He got it at Austin. Got it at Katowice. So it was kind of like, I mean, these are pretty good. No, these are pretty good. This is pretty good. Okay, let's do the opponent's filter. Versus Vitality, Wonderful put up a 1.30. Versus Vitality, Ema put up a 1.03. Now versus, let's do another one of the top teams. Let's do Spirit. Versus Spirit, Wonderful has a 0.95. Versus Spirit, Ema has a 1.01. That's a little better. It's a little better. But Wonderful's Vitality is so crazy. And now let's look at Furia. Okay, 1.15 for Ema. But let's see, is this early Furia that he farmed them? It kind of is. It's like the pre-Molodoy Furia. I think what I should look at is the last 6 months of versus Furia, really. So we kind of farmed them when it was the bad Furia. How about this, though? What about this? Ooh, this is pretty bad for Wonderful, but what about Maus? Okay, 0.80 for Wonderful, and for Ema, it's a huge, oh my God, he was destroying them. He was destroying them. Okay, lineups page. Yeah, it's probably, he did really well against the most recent Falcons. Did well against the modern version of Maus as well. He did really well against the best team of the year. He did well versus the new G2. Oh, he's doing really bad versus this one. And he did really bad versus this one. And probably the better Spirit he did worse against. What about Spirit for Ema? It's kind of the same. It's kind of bad. Go to lineups and just filter by most maps play. That's going to be the top teams. Okay. Versus the good version of the Mongols, Wonderful was way better. Versus the good version of Spirit, Ema was a little bit better. Versus Aurora, Ema was better. Versus the good version of Furia, Ema was better. Don't really 3D Max, I guess. I mean, versus the good version of Maus, Ema was way better. This version of FaZe, they both were owning them, but Ema was better. It's tough. I mean, I think I kind of want to go back to looking at the events in total, because Wonderful was a little bit better at the major. He was a little bit better at Chengdu. He was worse at Cologne, better at the Austin Major. At Melbourne, Wonderful was better. And then at Lisbon, Ema was better. And then at Kato, Ema was better. It's almost like the first 5 months of the year belong to Ema. It's kind of tough. Okay, let's do playoffs again. Let's do playoffs. Okay, 1.12. Wonderful was better. And then Cologne, 1.12. Ooh, Wonderful was better. Austin Major, Wonderful was better. Lisbon, Ema was better. They were both bad. Kato, Ema was better. What did we get in terms of EVPs and stuff like that for these guys? Ema's here. He got this major and EPL. What about Wonderful? Wonderful only got one for... Wonderful's EVP was better than Ema's. As in, like, it was the same event, but I was just kind of checking in case I'm missing something here. But I don't think I am. I'm taking Wonderful over Ema. I would rather have this player on my team than that player. You know what I mean? I'd rather have Wonderful for the year over Ema. And that's kind of how I'm deciding it. Now, does opping being hard add anything? I'm having a really tough time just reckoning with where I actually think what kind of opper nerf buff I feel is there in CS2. I think rating 3.0 has hurt oppers. I think CS2 still feels a little better to rifle than op. And so I think that there's a lot working against oppers nowadays. I'd say, wait, so on this list, how many are oppers? Only 6 out of 20. I think that makes sense, you know? Wonderful versus Heavy God. So non-playoffs, 121 maps. More maps for Heavy God, surprisingly. Better rating. Versus elite opponents, I think these are relatively similar. We got to distinguish between the events that are of importance. I think Wonderful might win this, guys. So Budapest Major. This is good from Heavy God for a team that lost. So 1.23, but it's still better for Wonderful. Now Chengdu, so 1 point Wonderful. Yeah, that's a point for Heavy God. So 1-1 tie. Now Cologne 1.09 versus 1.03. That's a point for Wonderful for sure. 2-1. Austin Major. I think this is definitely a point for Wonderful. 3-1. Melbourne 1.05. They didn't play it, I guess. Okay, don't know if I want to say anything about that. Lisbon though, 1.16. Okay, point for Heavy God. What is that? 3-2 now. And then Katowice, I'd say definitely a point for Wonderful because it's the playoffs. So 4-2. Little things that tip the scales in Heavy God's favor are the MVP that he got at London. That's big. But then if I really do the versus team test, I don't think it's that good for Heavy God, you know? Because we got Vitality at a 1.16, which is great. And with the sample size, it's very good. 4 maps, though, with a 1.3 for Wonderful. Now we do the Mongols test, 1.20 versus the Mongols test, 1.12. It's a point for Wonderful. The head-to-head is really good for Wonderful here. Wonderful got a 1.17 versus G2 versus Heavy God. Heavy God versus Navi is horrible, like 0.85. This is really bad. Like, what even happened here? You know, this is the major too. Oh my God, he was the worst rated player versus one of the higher ones. This is the Hades Snacks lineups, to be fair, but that's not great. And then the Maus test, Heavy God is at a 0.85 and Wonderful is at a 0.80. So it's kind of even there. I don't really think this is I think Wonderful might win this too. How does he? Damn, he really only has the 1 EVP. It feels so sad because I feel like it should have been so much clearer that Wonderful should be higher up on these. Dude, was he robbed at one of these events? Like, how does this not get an EVP? Can someone explain this shit? How did he not even merit a mention? Because they didn't make the semifinals? Is that it? What are we even doing? Dude, he's got a higher rating than Mezzi, who was an EVP. Rating 2.1 did him in. Wow, this feels like some bullshit. In the quarterfinal, Wonderful had a 1.18 rating. What did in the grand finals? 910 had a 0.7. This guy had a 0.7 versus the same team. He had a 0.7 versus dude. This MF should clearly have an EVP. Like this is not funny anymore. Like Wonderful, it was probably okay. All of what this whole top 20 list has fucking made me realize is that Wonderful probably got a little bit hard done this year by inconsistencies in HLTV's methodology. How is this even possible? That this guy got an EVP and this guy didn't. He definitely deserved it. I'm gonna put Wonderful above Heavy God. I almost me speaking out against the injustices that were carried out to this beautiful twink. He deserves better. He deserves better. How many playoff matches Heavy God has played at a major right now? The answer is a resounding 0. Let's see the playoff rankings between both of them, actually. We'll see. Okay, so what are Heavy God's best? 1.31 at Bounty, 1.29 at London, 1.22 at the Bucharest. Then he was not great for EPL, Fisher, and Lisbon. Now, Wonderful. EPL. It's the same EPL. It's the same EPL, by the way. 1.00, 1.33. Austin Major. 1.18. Heavy God doesn't have a single playoff series at the majors. Heavy God has no playoff games at Cologne, Katowice, or either major. I don't think it can happen. Okay. Wonderful versus Torzy. Guys, I think Wonderful might just be the most underrated player of the year. Okay, look at this already. Wonderful 1.16 at all the elite events. Now, where is Torzy? Okay, guys, I am making the executive decision to put Wonderful even higher. I will put Torzy on the side here because I think I need to rank him versus Heavy God now. Okay, we got to rank Wonderful because Wonderful is better than Torzy this year. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt. As an individual, 25, LAN, top 20, 1.06 versus 1.12, 1.00 versus top 5 opponents versus a 1.05, 1.06 versus top 10. It's kind of the same, but top 20, it's kind of better for Heavy God actually. Let's do the versus opponents test. Let's look at the head-to-head. I think Maus cleaned up G2 though. Most times they played them. Yeah, 1.18 in the head-to-head versus Heavy God got destroyed in the 0.85 here. But do the vitality test, and Heavy God's got a 1.16. Torzy, on the other hand, 0.91. It's a lot of maps. It's a lot of maps. In the spirit test, Torzy has 20 maps at a 0.96. Torzy definitely wins that. And then the Furia test, or the Mongols test, 4 maps of 1.18 versus 14 maps of 1.12. Okay, actually, Torzy looks better versus a lot of the best teams. I think at the big events, he just really fumbled. 3rd and 1 fumbled versus Heavy God, who is he is a machine. Budapest 1.11, Torzy 1.04. I would say point Heavy God. Chengdu 1.11. 1.02, but 4th place. I would maybe say point Heavy God again. Now, Cologne 1.03 versus 1.14. I'd say point Torzy, 2-1 Heavy God favored. 1.05 Austin Major, 1.93. He made it to the semifinals though. I'd say, let's just do, as an individual, I'm having a hard time building a case for Torzy. Lisbon 1.16, Lisbon 1.01, that's another point for Heavy God. Katowice 1.08, and 1.17. Let me know if you need a clawback bozo tiebreaker. I think it's really hard to rate Torzy versus Heavy God, but I'm almost convinced that Heavy God is the better. I mean, I think Heavy God's the better player. And I think at the end of the day, Torzy did well at Katowice, but they lost in like nearly last place there. I don't really see a case anymore. I don't really see a case. I think Heavy God won. This hurts, but let's do the elite filter again. Where's my elite filter page? There's my elite filter page. Okay, these are all the elite events. Where's Heavy God? Heavy God's a 1.06. That's not as high as I thought. Torzi's at a 1.04. I don't know. 46 maps versus 33. Sub 1.0 KD, but a higher rating. Okay, this is the other filter I have with a few of the other events that I care about. We've got Heavy God at a 1.08. And where's Torzy on this? Oh, dude, he actually goes down 1.03. Tough. And if I included London, then it would just be over for him. What if I just did for the year? Just practically no filters. Just land top 20. Heavy God ends at a 1.12. Where is Torzy even? 1.06. That is just a sizable difference, man. That's a sizable difference. Cologne EVP for Torzy. Yeah, that's nice. Torzy has 4. Cologne, Dallas, EPL, Cluj. And what does Heavy God have? He has 1 at Bucharest, but then he won an MVP at London. I think I go against the own criteria of my list, though, if I put Torzy above Heavy God. I think I go against, man. But if I really start discrediting Torzi's runs, I almost have to move him down more because I think Ema has some better runs at big events that I care about. Damn it, dude. Why? Does that feel right? I think it does. I think Heavy God's the better player. I think Heavy God is just the better player. Do playoffs? If I do playoffs, then Heavy God barely has any. Okay, let's just do playoffs for the year. Heavy God's right there at a 1.15. That's all playoffs. Okay, let's do big events. Okay, well, let's just see. Okay, where is he at first? Where is Torzy? Oh, no. He's a 1.02. Oh, God. Okay, let's do big events. Does this help Torzy out? Not really. Doesn't look like it does. In fact, it might hurt him. Dude, a 1.02. Oh, my God, dude. Oh my God, dude. Torzy, he can't miss the list. He cannot miss the list. This is his playoff rankings at all of these tournaments. EWC, that Cologne is a very good Cologne. That's very good. This, bad. This, oh my God. Oh no, this is not good. 0.88 at one of them and a 1.00 at the other. But the thing is that Heavy God didn't even make the playoffs of any of the majors. With Heavy God, on the other hand, which of these were even... What even events were these? Last Bounty, last London, Bucharest. Like, there's just so little here. There's just so little. Heavy God played with Hades, Taz, and Snacks. God. Spirit Heavy God. Oh, now we're talking. Now we are talking. That would be crazy. Okay, you know what? By virtue of me getting excited for a thread called Spirit Heavy God, and yet I would never get excited about a thread that says Navi Torzy, I think Heavy God wins, guys. I think I have to have Heavy God higher. I'll come back to the list. We're going to keep moving up on it. Okay, Wonderful versus Cacerado now. I think this has to be a Cacerado win. Okay, here's the prestige events, not playoffs, and they're pretty much equal. Let's look at them side by side. It's stage 2, though. What if we take out stage 2? Because I only use that just because almost to get the Falcons players on there. The exact same. Holy shit. All right. That's what we're talking about. All right. Now we actually have to use our brains a little bit here. Oh, wait. Oh, stage 2. Ooh, they both played their own stage 2s. I actually forgot that. Oh, okay. Hold on. Hold the phone. Kato, bad. Austin, all right. Cologne, good. Budapest, great. Kato, good. Austin, good. Cologne, good. Budapest, great. Ooh. Okay. All right. Let's look at the numbers side by side. Round swing is crazy for wonderful. KPR, wonderful wins. ADR, of course, and multi-kills, wonderful wins. Damn. Okay, let's look at them both with the other filter I have. Or okay, let's see. How many EVPs does Caserado have? 3? Didn't Wonderful only have 1? He got Rivals, Chengdu, and Playground, or Fisher. But then also he has an MVP. We have to do some discernment here. All right, let's see. So let's do Caserado. Let's bring up Wonderful. 25, LAN. The ratings between these two at the big events is the same. So now we do have to start going into the weeds at the other events and start. Okay, so the events that I also cared about, Chengdu, 1.18 for Caserado. Yeah, that's going to be a win. Okay, now Lisbon, 1.20. Lisbon, 0.94. That's a win for Caserado. Melbourne, 1.05. Melbourne, they didn't do Melbourne. They actually didn't do it. But he has Dallas, 1.12. They didn't do Dallas. Let's do EPL. Let's just check it. Okay, 1.17 for this EPL and 1.96 for that one. For this EPL, 1.26 and 1.15. Okay, I'm going to do Caserado higher, almost for sure. I thought Caserado was the better player this year anyways. I don't think Wonderful can come from off the list to higher than 15th. I think that's just absurd. And now we're going to put Caserado versus Twist. I think Wonderful, there was too many events this year where he was kind of a non-factor. And yes, I care most about these prestige ones and everything where Wonderful and all of Navi had done really, really well. But it's so crazy to have him off the list at like 21 through 23. And then suddenly he's above 15. It's been a few months, guys. Now, Twist versus Caserado. Okay, so here's Caserado in the elite events, 1.14. Where's Twist? Oh, wow. That's way below. No, there's almost no shot. I think this is already just a done deal, guys. I don't think how could this possibly swing in favor of Twist? Basically, it was just this Star Ladder Major where and also if you take out stage 2, I think Caserado clears by such a large margin. Yeah, there's almost no way this is even possible here. So he's already got a higher rating. It's not even worth doing this. Okay, so he's beneath him. Now it's Caserado versus Molodoy. Rating wise alone at the prestige events, Caserado's looking better than Molodoy. Let's start with that. The MVPs, though, I don't really always think about these MVPs and EVPs and stuff like that. I feel like sometimes it's just too much on who goes deep at tournaments and who doesn't. Chengdu, Fisher versus Thunderpick. But the thing is that this part kind of does matter. This is because they're at the same team, I think the guy that's getting the MVPs is clearly of higher value than the guy that's not. But I'm pretty sure at all of the MVPs for Chengdu and Fisher, Caserado still got EVPs at the ones that Molodoy won. So he got these 2 EVPs and he got this Blast Rivals one, whereas Molodoy, he didn't even get an EVP at Rivals, but he did get an EVP at Cologne, which is kind of crazy. So that's kind of a big deal. And I don't think I need to linger on this one that long. I think Molodoy is of clearly more value to Furia. I think Molodoy changed the face. In terms of narrative reasons, I would say Molodoy was highly responsible for changing the face of Furia. Molodoy is vindication for the move that Furia made, whereas Caserado was kind of he was always playing incredibly admirably. And I never want to make that or downplay that. But Molodoy was just the injection that this team needed. So I'm going to put Molodoy ahead of Caserado for sure. At the same tournaments, he's doing better when they're winning, generally speaking. It's kind of, there's a debate to be had, but I just don't think it takes too long to explain the side of Molodoy over Caserado. Now, Xantares versus Molodoy. Let's do that. So Xantares is right here at a 1.10. Molodoy's at 1.11. Let's look at them side by side. Now, Molodoy at these events put up these kinds of numbers. Cologne 1.18, Austin Major 1.09, Stage 2 1.11, Budapest 1.03. Now Xantares 0.93 at Stage 2 of Budapest, 1.05 at the Austin Major. So Molodoy clears on both of those, and Katowice is really where Xantares looks more impressive because of So he did well versus Falcons, he did well versus VP, he did okay versus 3D Max, he did well versus FaZe, and he did decently versus the Mongols. So it's really this one Katowice run. I think Molodoi might take this. Let's go back into the events, all of the events that I care about though. So let's do Major, Cologne, Kato. Now we're gonna add Chengdu, Lisbon, and Melbourne 25. All the events that I think are the biggest. And we see Molodoi is here. And where's Xantares? Holy, he went down even more. Wait, how did he do at these events? What? Oh, at Lisbon, he just did badly. And then at Molodoi, if I look at Molodoi in comparison, then Molodoi, I get to add a sensational Chengdu performance. Yeah, Molodoi beats Xantares for me. We're going to do that. Now, let's do Molodoi versus Flamesy. So we have these events. Molodoi is right here at a 1.16. Flamesy is a 1.13, so it's not bad. Like, that's pretty freaking good, okay? I feel like it might be easy to overlook that. But this is Flamesy did really well earlier in the year. Kind of tapered off in the second half, but great Katowice, like excellent Katowice. Hard to grade that versus Molodoi, who didn't play that event. Then a really good Lisbon, also didn't play that. Melbourne, very good, didn't play that. But that's 3 great events for Flamesy that you can't, but then you get to the Austin Major, and he actually did as well as Molodoi rating-wise, but you definitely would say he did better because he won the event. Now Cologne, 1.03, this is where Molodoi is starting to take the lead. Chengdu, still very good though, great Chengdu. So I think I'm gonna have Flamesy, guys. I think I'm gonna have to have yeah, I think Flamesy is he's defo getting it. Let's do this. Playoffs of all of these events now. Let's do the playoff ratings for both of these guys. So 0.8 in both major playoffs. I'm gonna be real. Molodoi is the reason they lost versus Pain. Molodoi is the reason they lost versus Navi. He is the reason. He is absolutely the reason. That has to count against him. Cologne, Flamesy did not help, but he was helpful at Katowice. He was helpful at Chengdu. He was helpful at all these events as an entry. Let's look at overall. 1.06 versus 1.07. And Flamesy played way more. Okay, let's go further. I mean, I don't think there's really actually more I need to do. I think I'm okay. So in the playoffs, these are Flamesy's numbers versus top opponents. For Molodoi's, it's so messed up because he has just small sample sizes actually, because it's just a handful of matches. Like, look at how many there are. He was so bad versus Navi, kind of bad. I mean, this was horrendous for him versus Pain. Good in some of. I mean, he really helped beat them. I mean, they played each other once, and he was a huge reason that they won that game at was it Chengdu? Yeah. It's tough, but I think when I look at playoffs, I can't even make the case that Molodoi was a better individual in like big playoffs than Flamesy. How crazy! I mean, isn't that a little bit of a crazy statement from a guy that won 2 MVPs? That I can't necessarily say that because okay, KPR he destroys him, and DPR he destroys him. Round swing, he's better. Multi-kill's better. But I do take into account these majors pretty heavily, guys. You got a 1.08 at both of them. You got almost the exact same numbers versus Molodoi's where it's like, dude, he griefed them so badly at Navi. Flamesy, let's look at this Cologne one. What was this Cologne game where he just was so bad versus Maus? Yeah, he was the worst player. But like, oh my God, Zaiwu was just not even in the server also. Like, what even happened that day? Molodoi is definitely the rookie of the year, but I mean, the chokes weren't nearly as bad for him, for Flamesy over Molodoi. Like, okay, let's look at this really quickly. The match here versus Navi is so despicable. This is so despicably bad. Like every map, he's the second worst there. Even in a winning effort, even in a winning map, he was the worst player on the team. And on this map, he was among a bunch of people who really sold this game for them. I mean, the reason they lost this game, by the way, sure, Molodoi came back a little bit with a 1.45 rating on T side, but this CT side, he sold this. Like, I almost don't even care about the T side rating because the game was so lost already from Molodoi doing the worst he could have possibly done here. Yeah, Fallen did badly too, but like, that's different. Yeah, we're putting him there. Okay, now let's do Flamesy versus Senzu. This is going to be a little bit of a weird one because Senzu didn't play the last couple tournaments, but it's worth it. It's worth looking, okay? So we have the prestige events here. Where's Senzu? Senzu's at a 1.10 versus Flamesy is a 1.09. 3-0, 1.09. Bad Kato. So versus Vitality did badly. versus Navi did badly. Really nice run here in Austin. This propelled him a lot. I don't think I can just simply... Okay, so this is all the big events that I liked this year. And I don't even see Senzu on this. Oh, wow. He's all the way down here, 1.07. And then where's Flamesy? Flamesy's all the way up here, 1.13. Okay, so let's look at this. I think this is probably a bit better, more indicative. So we have Flamesy versus Senzu. Yeah, I'm probably going to be taking Flamesy here. 1.11 versus 1.07 versus the top teams. He has a 0.93, 1.05, 1.07. The benefit of that Flamesy has in this discussion is that he doesn't have to play against Vitality. But the peak of Senzu is great, but there's no consistency behind it at all. Whereas Flamesy is basically just pure... I mean, the peak is still good. I mean, this is still a great Katowice, and it's better than anything else Senzu even did. And if you look at all these events that are in the 1.11 range, I would rather... Okay, I don't like the whole consistency versus peak argument for a single event necessarily when I can get this much consistency. When I can get great consistency versus a really, really great peak for one tournament and then kind of just all right. Didn't play a second major too. That's another thing. I'm going to put Flamesy above Senzu. I think Senzu needs to be discussed versus Moldoy, but I feel pretty good about keeping Senzu above Moldoy because they both kind of played half of the year. Moldoy played a little more than half the year. Actually, I'll almost put it like this. They almost played the same amount. I'll come back to that. This is very much worth looking back at. I'll say this is a highlight. Now, Flamesy versus Spinks. This might have gotten interesting because I think Spinks sort of tapered off a little bit. Okay, so we look at their events against each other here. Let's look at the peaks and everything. So Spinks' best moment was Melbourne 1.22. That's only a little bit better than a Kato, which I consider way more important. And then Austin, he has a 1.12. And again, that's just a little better than Flamesy here. Then he has a 1.09 at Lisbon. Flamesy actually did better. Chengdu, 1.09. Flamesy actually did better. And then Budapest Major, 1.08. That's definitely better for Spinks. But then Cologne, 1.07. And that's the one spot where Flamesy sold. But then you get to add in the fact that he had Kato. It's so good. I mean, in terms of the elite event, I'm going to take Flamesy, guys. I'm going to take Flamesy over Spinks, actually. Why did I have Spinks above him before? I had him pretty close, but then what happened? Wait, okay, let's look at these EVPs and stuff like that really quickly. Like what? Spinks has 4 EVPs, EPL, Austin Major, Dallas, Cluj. Now, what does Flamesy have? They have the same, but none of them are at a major. Chengdu, EPL, London, Cluj, Dallas, EPL. So 1 at EPL versus 2. London, I'd say London's a little better than Cluj. I'd say Chengdu is better than Dallas or EPL. I would say that 2 of Spinks' EVPs are weaker than all 4, but his major EVP is better than Flamesy's, any of Flamesy's. It's kind of tough. I mean, it's a 1.12 versus a 1.08. If I look at this, he's actually just better too. Spinks is a selfish player, punish him. And I like, you know what? I will invoke the role difficulties for Flamesy over Spinks. I think Flamesy is a better teammate. So let's see this. I don't know how we even prove this. I mean, how many deaths traded does he have? Okay, traded deaths percentage, 28%. Traded deaths percentage, 20%. Opening deaths traded, 30.9, 34. Saved by teammates per round, 0.12, same thing. Okay, so trade kills per round, 0.15. Trade kills per round, 0.12. Trade kills percentage, 17%. Spinks gets to bait, is what I'm getting from this. Spinks gets to bait, and he has worse numbers at these events that I care about. Or like a worse rating. Spinks has a higher KPR. He has a slightly higher ADR. They have the exact same round swing. That's kind of absurd to me. I'm taking Flamesy. Now, Flamesy versus Mezzy. I think I'm going to take Mezzy. A little bit better. Same team. Way harder roll. I outright would say it's a way, way, way worse. Because they played the exact same events, we can just compare 1-to-1. Okay, so 1.23. Okay, point for Mezzy. Point for Flamesy. Point for Mezzy, 2-to-1 for Mezzy. Point for Mezzy, 3-to-1 for Mezzy. Point for Mezzy. I'm just going down the list in my head. I'm not spelling everything out, but Mezzy is better out of 4 of these first 5 events. Now, Lisbon, point for Flamesy. Katowice, point for Flamesy. still 5-3, and one of them is the major, okay? And one of them's Cologne. Flamesy got the Cato versus Cologne, so if you cancel those out, but both majors, Mezzi did better. And those are the margins I'm going with right now. So yeah, I'm gonna say Mezzi's better than Flamesy this year. Now, Frozen. Frozen's good because this is just challenging. This is just a very challenging back and forth between him and Mezzi. Because Budapest Major, actually Mezzi did better. Chengdu, Frozen did better. Cologne, Frozen did better. Austin Major, Mezzi did better. Melbourne, Mezzi did better. Lisbon, Frozen did better. Cato, Frozen did better. But my God, like Mezzi got so much deeper at all of these, man. Playoff ratings won't do a lot just because, here, let's just put playoff ratings on all of these. Let's just do it for everybody. So Frozen's at a 1.11. Mezzi is at a 1.05. The problem is that like Frozen only has 11 maps here. You know, I'm not a big sample size Andy, but 11 versus 47, pretty drastically different. Frozen was playing 1v5 at many points this year. Okay, let's do all of the events really quickly here. Frozen's at a 1.16. Let's just get Mezzi to compare for the whole year. 1.08. I mean, that just looks insane. Let's put top 10 because they're always playing the best teams on. Okay, so even then, dude, 10 ADR higher is so crazy. 10. Let's do some tests versus some other teams. The Spirit test. So 1.02 for Mezzi. 1.21 for Frozen. Let's do the Maus test. 1.16 for Frozen. 0.92 for Mezzi. The two valid, Mongols test. 1.12 for Mezzi. Oh, kind of bad. Kind of bad for Frozen. I think I'm going to take a liberty and just put Frozen higher because it's my list. And discerning between these things, okay, so if we did the whole like EVP test and stuff like that. So Mezzi has, how many EVPs does he even have? Mezzi has 3. How many does Frozen have? Does Frozen have any? I mean, where is he? No, 4. Okay, there he goes. Major, EPL, Bucharest, Cluj. I mean, these are so small for me. But then Mezzi, he got an EVP at both majors and an EPL. I think that's better. That is better, guys. That in the EVP case, he wins easily for me. Okay, so let's do 2025 top 20. Okay, let's just look at where is Frozen getting all this rating, you know? So Frozen versus Mezzi. Like, where is he picking all this up? Stage 2. Cluj. What is this? Stage 2? Stage 2. Stage 1. Okay, Cologne. Legit. But then let's look at Mezzi. Where is he getting that rating? Oh, he got the same rating at Cologne. Oh, he actually got a better rating at the major. Okay, Katowice. Where's Frozen's Katowice? They got the same rating. Melbourne, 1.11. 1.15. Mezzi did better. Dallas. Did they play Dallas? Yeah, Mezzi did better. Chengdu. They both did badly, actually. Mezzi did badly while getting carried, though, which is worse. Lisbon, 1.00. Good for Frozen there. He's getting all this rating, though, at things that I don't care as much about, like these 4 things. This is really good. This still looks so elite for Mezzi. The fact that his highest 2 top 10 rated lands are the majors is just absurd. That's just crazy. But the thing is, the number, yeah, and yeah. He's better at both majors. The body of work, though, is better for Frozen. The overall body of work is so much better. But I don't want to let that characterize my like Rops versus Monacy conversation either. Monacy is so badly at the prestige events. He's so badly at them. Use the big events filter? Sure, I'll do that at the minimum here. It doesn't change Mezzi's, but it worsens Frozen's by a little bit. See, if you take off that, then I'd say the floor of Mezzi is probably where it hurts him the most. It's almost like this. I think Mezzi's peaks are actually arguably better than Frozen's, but Mezzi's floor is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. 7 out of 16 are not that great, but then for Frozen, it's just 5 out of, it's 1 out of 3 versus almost half. It's not exactly. It's like 1 out of 3 versus. So if we just did pure prestige versus each other, I mean, dude, look at this for Mezzi. 1.17 versus Frozen's 1.15. So he does finally beat him. You can finally torture the stats enough to make it so that one wins. But It's only a little bit better in terms of rating. I'd even just say I think the rating here might be legitimately bad because Frozen is outputting so much higher ADR. I mean, the ADR, they're both riflers and it's 8 more ADR. I mean, I'm going to take that pretty easily. We could do an eco adjust though. Prestige filter plus playoffs filter. It's going to be crazy for Mezzi, right? This is prestige event playoffs for Mezzi. Like, what are we doing? Mezzi's Budapest is just absurd. And and Frozen's Austin is not even that great. Whereas Mezzi's Austin and his Budapest are crazy. His Cologne isn't great. Actually, you know what? I think he might have been one of the best rated players in that game for Vitality. No, okay, Rops was, but then Mezzi was second. And then, oh my God, dude, like, look at this. Just look at that. Look at this. A 2.00 rating. A 2.00 rating is just insane. Like, that's just so crazy. This is so tough. I won't lie to you guys. I don't see a great. I see either as being completely fine. Oh my gosh. I'm going to stick with my initial eye test stuff of Frozen over Mezzi, guys. I know that might upset some of you, but I think Mezzi being already the 7th best when I had him where before at 12th is pretty good for the year. I've moved him from 11th to 7th, guys. Okay. In the pre-major event or pre-major and a few other events, Mezzi was 11th. I moved him up to 7th. Okay. Frozen moved up a little bit, overtaking Spinks and Senzu, but Frozen was clearing Mezzi, and he still had a good enough Budapest Major to make me think that he's still an elite player like that. So there we go. Okay, number 5. Okay, so Shiro versus Frozen. I think this is where... Okay, let's look at the raw numbers. Okay, this is top 20 at these events. I'm kind of shocked. Frozen's just better, but I think some of this has to do with stage 2. Looking at the actual events, I mean, 1.16 for Budapest, 1.14 for Budapest. Okay, Austin Major, 1.10, Austin Major, 1.03, Lisbon, or let's do Cologne, 1.16 for Shiro, 1.24 for Frozen, Katowice, 1.13 for Frozen, 1.0. I think Frozen just won in every single meaningful category, except for Budapest was practically a tie. But every other event, yeah, this is over. Frozen's better than Shiro this year? Are you fucking kidding me? Wait a second. Let's look at both of these guys with playoff stats. Frozen is 1.11. Oh no, where's Shiro? Holy shit, 1.03? Yeah, no, this is Frozen is the 5th best player of the year. This is a 5th best of the year Frozen. Oh man. Holy. Guys, we have to go back through all of these. Okay, here, I'll highlight this. I think this is worth highlighting. We're going to look back at that, and we're going to look back at this one. We're going to look back at all of them quickly. Now, number 4. Now, Frozen versus Monacy. This is going to hurt a lot because this is one of those ones where you really look at these elite events, and Monacy has no business being here. He actually just flunked all of these. Like, this is sad. This is unironically sad. Like, let's just look at these elite events between these two players. Frozen top 20, like it's not close. It is not even. Kato 1.00. He's on a bad G2. Yeah, sure. But Frozen was on phase all year. Frozen was literally on phase all year, and he still was pretty good. He got a better rating than Monacy at that one. At the Austin Major, he got 1.10. I mean, technically Monacy, we're not even looking at that because of that other, what happened in stage 2. Now Cologne, 9 to 12, 1.07. Now Frozen, higher ranking, higher rating. Now Budapest Major, 1.14, second place. Budapest Major, 5th to 8th, 1.11. Dude, I think Frozen had a better year than Monacy. But what people are going to do is they're going to just do this. They're just going to do 2025, top 20. Monacy's the 3rd best. Look at, it's a huge gap. So let's look at where Monacy got those numbers, okay? Because if we just do land top 20, yeah, it looks way better. So where do you get it? Blast Bounty Season 1 Finals, Blast Rival Season 2, EPL, Chengdu. Okay, first time I'm considering it in one of the events that I think are like the really important ones, more important ones. Okay, now let's go to the ones with Melbourne, Lisbon, and Chengdu. And it even has stage 2s added. So let's look at these. So Monacy is at a 1.15, and Frozen's at a 1.16. Really, really equal. So it's almost already, considering all the events that I think matter more, Frozen beats him by just a hair. But then when I go to the prestige events that I think really matter, then Frozen clearly wins. And for Mondesi to come back and win over Frozen, I have to start considering EPLs as the more important events. Because in the head-to-head of just these, it's not close. Mondesi just starts lapping him once it's EPL v EPLs. Okay, let's see. Let me go through these guys again, though. We have Frozen on the what I consider the elite events and better. Now let's look at Mondesi at what I consider the elite events and better. Okay, so if we do this, let's go head-to-head on all of them. So Katowice, 7th to 8th place for Frozen, 1.13. Katowice, 9th to 12th, so worst placing, worst rating. Now, let's go to Lisbon, 9th to 12th, but a 1.16. This is where Mondesi does win. He clearly wins Lisbon. Melbourne, 2nd place, 1.23. I'd say that Mondesi clearly wins that. So 2-1 for Mondesi. Now, Austin Major Stage 2, both of these guys played that, funnily enough. And Frozen destroyed Mondesi. And he even got to get pretty high up at the Austin Major itself. I don't know if he gets an EVP for this, but that's a clear win for... So it's 2-2. Now, Cologne, 9th to 12th, 1.07. Cologne, 7th to 8th. Okay, Frozen's ahead, 3-2. He's ahead for Cologne, Austin, and Katowice. And if you ask me, guys, those clearly matter more than Melbourne and Lisbon. Now, if I look at Chengdu, Mondesi can even the score here. He wins with a better placing and a better rating. So yeah, 3-3. But then I look at Budapest, and Frozen wins by having a better rating and going deeper. So Frozen won in all 4 of the prestige events I truly care about. Mondesi won all 3 of the semi-elite events in my eyes. Okay, team head-to-head. So I think we have to do lineups because we have to do Mondesi. So against Mondesi, 1.18, and that's it. So now let's do this. Versus Frozen, 0.98. In the head-to-head, he's owning him. All right, let's go back to these and let's do playoffs. Playoffs versus playoffs. I think Mondesi can win here. Yeah, because he's only been to the playoffs of 2 of them, 1.15 and 0.99. Ooh, but these are bad. Bad, bad, and bad. So Mondesi almost just has one good one, which Frozen has one good one. It's the Major versus Melbourne, by the way. And then Mondesi has 3 bad ones. Holy crap, that's actually pretty bad. Guys, everybody saying Mondesi's better is a rabid tier 1.5 tournament enjoyer. When we just look at 2025 and we look at Mondesi, we're like, yeah, remember all these sick highlights at these events that you don't even remember what event the highlights happened at? You guys just remember the highlights. You guys are actually playing. You remember that he flicks fast, so he must be better. All of these tournaments that don't matter, he does well at. Like, no one's going to remember these tournaments. Who the fuck is remembering what happened at EPL Season 21? Nobody. No, okay, off the top of your head, who won EPL Season 16? No one knows. Not a single person knows. Look at his 4 worst events. Look at his worst events. I can't believe it. It's a year-long list, and every prestige event in the year he was bad at. It's actually legitimately dumb that he's so bad when there's any pressure. He's just bad when there's pressure. That's just all it is. That's like saying that Molodoy is the best opera in the world today when obviously we just watched what happened. That is what it is. I'd say Frozen is better. I'd say Frozen's better this year. I had a list earlier where it was like Shiro was above Mondesi. Shiro was above Mondesi for most of the year. It's almost just like late surge where Mondesi went over him. Even when we did this, where we considered some of the other very important tournaments, the Lisbon, Melbourne, and Chengdu, Frozen's still better than Mondesi. I added even a greater... Guys, is 75 maps versus 71 maps of super legit elite play not high value? So why did we have Mondesi above Zaiwu last year? Why was it almost a unanimous choice for everybody that Mondesi's better than Zaiwu last year? Because the big events matter. Because the big fucking events matter. So why does it make sense that Frozen is higher than Mondesi this year? Because the big fucking events matter. Mondesi fucking bodied Zaiwu on these, but Zaiwu had a better overall year. The truth nuke has fucking landed. It's a true clear winter, and this is how you decide at the end of it. All right, I'm gonna move on to ROPS. I don't think there's any way ROPS can even move. I think ROPS is so far beyond practically anything anybody else was putting out this year on a similar level or like in this elite category, I mean, this is just not even close. This is just fucking obscene. His worst is a 1.15. I mean, that's better than that's better than 3 of Frozen's. And the thing is, he won 3 of these. And Frozen, yeah. Okay, this is already kind of absurd. Okay, so we're going to add Lisbon, Melbourne, Chengdu. And then I normally had the stages, but I had like stage 1, I had stage 2 of both of these, but I think this already speaks for itself. I mean, this is just obscene. The level of consistency here and the ceiling is so freaking high. G2, Liquid, Aurora, Mongols, Vitality, Mouse. I mean, that's pretty elite. That's pretty damn elite. But kind of a lot of red. Do we even have a whole page of red? That's insane, actually, to me. That we practically have a full page of red right here for Frozen, and he's played 63 maps. We have 2/3 of a page, and Rops has played more maps. It's so crazy. Yeah. There's no question about it that Rops is above Frozen and Monacy for me this year. We can look at him versus Zywoo, but I don't think there's really a point in that either. Well, he did not have the best Cologne at a 1.08. So his floor was, technically speaking, it was lower. Technically speaking, he had a lower floor than Rops did. But I mean, that's just nitpicking when his second lowest rated event is better than 5 of Rops's next events. You know, like this is just so crazy that he had 5 events with that. And then now let's just compare it to Donk, okay? If I take Donk's 4th best event, it is better than all except one of Zywoo's events. Dude, that's so... And then both majors, he has above a 1.5. Like, these numbers didn't exist before. These numbers simply did not exist. Look at everything here. The only thing what Zywoo's winning on is DPR and round swing. Okay, KAST, I guess, also. But again, in the really elite events of the year, he has above a 0.9 KPR. This is better than Prime Simple. It's better than Prime Nico. It's better than Prime Zywoo. It's better than anybody ever. And then 96 ADR. Again, to do that in the most elite events of the year is so crazy. Usually people pad their stats in all those crazy other events, those other ones, but my God. It's like 1 out of 4 rounds, he's getting a multi-kill. Okay, let's do playoffs for both of them, okay? I mean, it's even better. Or, I mean, it's 0.07 difference, 0.06 difference, okay. Oh my God. Okay, so these are playoff numbers for both of them. So playoffs, these are the Dude, the playoff numbers, he's putting up numbers that anybody else would just dream of putting up for a single tournament. His worst playoff of the year is better than most people's year. There's only 2 players who had a better year than he had as his worst playoffs. You could say the sample size is not as big for Donk. Yeah, that happens when you don't make it to the grand final BO5s every time. That's exactly what happens. You'll get a huge boost in maps played if you're Zywoo when you're making it to the grand finals almost every time. The other thing is that because Zywoo and his team win the tournament, he gets the MVP. But if you just went off of who was the best player at all of these events, the answer is just so... He actually had a bad playoff game. Oh, sorry, Zywoo, you had one bad playoff game, you lost. Donk doesn't even get to have a bad playoff game. He just can't put up anything lower than like a 1.5. If he puts anything lower than a 1.5, it's like, how dare he? But if Zywoo puts anything a 1.3 or above, his team wins. If the same thing happened with Donk, he would have won all events except for Katowice this year. That's just crazy. I mean, it's just this. It's just this. I mean, it's just that. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, this is my list for the year. But I will check these ones. I'll check everybody out versus everybody again. Where is Makaze? All right, where is Makaze? Oh, look at in all the events. Yep, 11 maps. He played 11 maps, dude. Relax. He played 2 events worth of playoffs. All right, I'm gonna compare Shiro and Mezi. I said I was gonna go back to this one. The initial rating is pretty obviously different. Okay, let's look at the events though and the quality of them, where he's doing well versus badly. Okay, the highs for Mezi are Budapest, Cologne, Austin Major. Obviously, these are a nice 3 to have. For Shiro, it's Chengdu, Lisbon, Budapest. Not that great at Austin. And for Mezi, not that great at Chengdu, not that great at Lisbon. He does pretty well at Kato. He does better than Shiro at Kato. So he did better than Shiro at Kato and the Austin Major. And then Cologne, 1.16. Cologne. Mezzi did better than him at 3 of these events, actually. And at the Budapest Major, too. Wait, I think he did better than him at literally all of them. Hold on. Okay, let's take off these. I think it's one of those cases again where if I look at all of these, Budapest, Cologne, Austin, Kato, I think Mezzi does just have the better rating. Yeah, 1.17 versus Shiro's a 1.10. But then if we look at the whole year, Shiro 1.19 versus Mezzi's like a 1.06 or something like that, 1.08. Okay. 189 maps versus 142. Okay, where is Shiro getting his numbers at? Chengdu, Bounty Season 1. The floor of Mezzi was way, way, way lower. I mean, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 16, he's in the gray, whereas Shiro only has 1 out of 14. Let's do top 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 16, so 1, 2, 3. So 3 out of 13, 6 out of 16. The highs for Shiro come at Bounty, Chengdu, Lisbon. For Mezzi, it happens at It is at both majors. It is at both majors, but the high is not nearly as high. I think if anything, what I should do is maybe lower Frozen and Mezzi both, or Frozen and Monacy both, and then I move Shiro and Mezzi above them. By my own logic, I think Mezzi has to be above Shiro. I just hate choke artists so much. It's the worst trait you can have as an elite competitor. Let's just try to even make a criteria for this, okay? I think what some people actually, now that I'm working through my criteria a little bit more strictly, so you guys can see it, what I think that some of you guys don't do is consider failures to be detracting. I think what you guys are starting to do is just be like additive for everything. I personally consider failures to be extremely harmful to my perception of a player. If you come in second place a lot, that's not what I consider a failure. But if you are bombing out in groups and it's your fault, if it's your fault that you're bombing out in groups, then I hold it against you. I mean, in all honesty, the way I'm kind of like moving through this, even thinking about it, is more like this. I kind of think these two guys are just, it's almost kind of like this. It's not done. It's not done. I'm still like trying to put this together. I think I'm going to do this at least. Let me do head-to-head between those two guys again, between Monacy and Shiro. The problem is they both didn't do that well at these events. Shiro did do better at all of them. But at the Austin Major, he did pretty badly. What's crazy is it's like if I add stage 2 of Austin, is this even getting worse for Monacy? It's pretty similar. What the fuck? What did he have again? I think I'm just way more punishing than other people for this stuff. I think this is just by far the most misleading number ever. Like I simply just don't rate these events that happen. It needs to mean something that obviously your worst 4 events are the only 4 events we're really going to remember in 5 years. How can I have EMA at like 20th when I have Frozen at 5th? Let's just be the most fair I can finally be. Where is there even a case for Frozen to be that high when EMA's there? He's obviously better than him, but how can he be that much better than him? Because I don't think he can be. 6 of his 14 events are there. Frozen's has 5 of his 19. So he has more events and less of them are even there. So he's definitely higher than him, but probably more like this. If I'm really trying to be fair, it's probably more like this. I think I finally made it fair. I actually just think he's better than these guys. We're making this more about the eye test. No, dude. Okay, Flamesy's first half of the year was so good, that's why they were as good as they were. Frozen is just fucking better than Mezzi. Like, who are we fucking kidding? Okay, I went from having a very methodical, thorough XVY way of doing this now to just being like, okay, let's just be fair, and then me moving people with very little discretion, actually. Bro, look at their teams. Frozen drag phase all year long, at least above Mezzi. Yeah, no, he did. He did, which is why he's 7th and Mezzi is 8th for me. I don't think Flamesy needed to be that red. I think Xantares could be beneath K-Serrano. I think I like this list. I think I can justify. And then Kyosuke instead of Yuri. Okay, so when I do this, Katowice 25, Austin 25, Cologne 25, Budapest. I mean, I feel like it's kind of ridiculous to not include Kyosuke. It's just kind of absurd. Oh man, 17 map is so little. But then again, I have Xantaras, so it's like, it's not really that crazy. Okay, you know what? I like that. Yuri was 21, and that's it. Shiro versus Monesi. Okay, Shiro actually wasn't great in the prestige events either, so we can be a little bit fairer to Monesi. I think this is the best list I've had this so far. Donk, player of the year. Zaiwu, best player on the best team, but not necessarily the best overall player. Rops, secondary piece that was almost better than everybody else's pieces on any of their teams. Monesi, potential to change the game. Every single tournament he entered was on a different fucking plane. Unfortunately, he just choked in big moments, which is why he can't touch any of these guys. Shiro, another kind of sidekick. It's kind of like a lesser version of the Zaiwu v Rops case here, but doesn't really have the potential to change the face of a game nearly as much. Flamesy, I would say the third man on the Vitality team that really just put together the best year of all time. Single calendar year, not 365-day period, which Astralis might actually still have over them, but the single calendar year, Flamesy was the third best guy. And at times in some big moments also, like, I think Austin Grand Finals, like best player on a single map. It's kind of like Mezzi. What Mezzi did a little bit more in this later half, Flamesy did there. I'd say Frozen, in a team of wild inconsistencies, was somehow able to drag a limping phase to even placings or competitive maps and series versus teams they had no business against. Now Spinks, best player on what was arguably the third best team of the year in Maus, but a team that was kind of lifted up by its structure, sort of overall style. I think there's also something to be said about there being a detractive element of Spinks. I feel like anchors play very badly around him. I'm just going to be completely blunt about this. I think Spinks fucked up Yimpat. I think Spinks fucked up Mezzi. That's just my opinion. And in what maybe statistically was a better year for Spinks, I think he fucked up. I think he fucks up his teammates. I think like Spinks is incredibly hard to play around. Molodoy, sensational in the 8-month span that he was on Furia. But if I'm going to penalize Monesi for some big prestige moment chokes, Molodoy has yet to post pretty much a good map in a major playoffs right now. And he's played 6 so that's not good. Senzu, insane first 7 months of the year, but just didn't play. Queserado, extremely consistent on a Furia roster that had its ups and downs. Maybe didn't always see the same highs of people like Molodoy, but like who would I rather have on my team, Queserado or Spinks? I think I'd rather have Queserado. I kind of want to do this, actually. Now that I look at this a little bit more carefully, I just feel like Spinks is sometimes too selfish as a player for me to even want to include him higher. I think this is fairer. Now, Xantaras, I mean, dude, for a team that made it to every playoffs made every playoffs of every tournament for the first half of the year, he was the reason. Why KD was decent at times, but Xantaras even fought through some of those bad playoff losses as the best player in the server. So I'm going to give him credit there. Twiz, it's kind of a similar story to like a Frozen here. Wonderful, weirdly elite in prestige events, maybe not as impactful throughout the rest of the year. Heavy God, consistent factor on G2. I'd say top 3 anchor in the world, but I'd say, is it even top 2 actually? It's him and Rops. No, top 3. Top 3 anchor in the world. Maybe, you put this guy on Vitality for Mezzi and maybe he gets this position, but just didn't get to see him on deep enough runs as consistently as I would have wanted. Couldn't say the same thing about Frozen though, obviously. Now, Torzi, kind of another one of those pillars for Maus, but I don't know. I think his individual height, I didn't do this. I think Torzi's like here, actually, if I'm being honest with myself. Yeah, let's do this. Ima, Nico, Kyosuke, and Torzi. That's better for me. Torzi was good in the beginning of the year, but then really slowed down a lot for them. Ima, kind of again like a prestige event merchant. Nico, do I really think Nico's worse than Ima? I think if I were to go off of my feeling, I would do this. I'd probably do that. Heavy God above Wonderful, Nico, Ima, Kyosuke, Torzi. I think this is my list. It only took 5.5 hours. I'm not changing it. It's posted. It's done. I believe in the list. I'm comfortable with the list. As always, being toxic is a choice. Peace. Where's Kai? Right here. 787 is way. and 903 is Kai. He made the list. He made the list.